right, so one of the problems I see with hip hop production today is the way the 808 kick is used. Now, with the trap style of beats that are produced today, the 808 is used a lot, and that's fine, whatever, but it has to be kept under control because the 808 kick, it resonates a lot. Okay, so when you use it, it's got that big thump and it just trails off a lot. And even though it sounds really good, and you can use it, in any type of hip hop track, you have to know how to use it. That's the key here. Okay, so no matter what style of beat that you're trying to produce here, you have to know that the 808 kick, you can't really use it in its original form in a way because it's just too heavy. That's the problem. So you could lower the overall volume of the 808, but it's still not really what you want to do. So I've got this track here. Okay, I've got on track 1, I've got the 808 kick and just some random snare on 2 here. So let's just play this. All right, so you can hear clearly that's a typical 808, just clean. It resonates a lot. So on its own here, that's pretty heavy. Now, even if you notice here, I brought the overall volume down, minus 5.7, and yet look at the meter. It's still going up to +6. That's how heavy it is. When I put it at 0, it's right way past the red here. So that's why you could lower the volume, that's fine. But then as you keep lowering, you want to keep it, as you're mixing, right? You want to keep the level pretty low. You don't want it too high because it's so heavy. So if you're just going to keep lowering and lowering it, but then it just loses its overall effect. So what I recommend is you do something to it. And in this case, I've got the same kick here, same thing, minus 5.7. And this one, I'm going to add some compression to it. Okay, so here I'm using a Cakewalk Sonar, and it comes with this compressor, the Pro Channel. And look, I'm not a compression expert, not at all. But what I like to do, and what I recommend to others, is to just play with the knobs. You just have to get an idea of what it is. You got the input, output, the dry, wet, and attack, release. So you just play with it, and you can get a sense of really how it works. Okay, so I've got it activated here. So let's just listen to the 808 with the compression on it. So you can clearly see there's a difference there. Okay, now it still has, it's still heavy, but you can tell that it's under control, right? That you've done something to it, that it's not just like this heavy thump. So when you listen to it, first of all, like I said, it's minus 5.7, but watch the meter here. We're only at minus 12 here. Well, minus 11.2, right? Okay, whereas this one, remember, this one was up at +6, even though the volume's down. Okay, so that's how much the compression is working here. And also, look at the meter here. It's keeping it near the 0 mark right here. It's keeping it near 0. Because otherwise with the original you'd be going way into the red there, even if you're using the original form. But with the compressor, it's really getting a handle on the 808, and that's what you want. So if you listen to use the compressor, like I said, I'm not an expert, but I'll just give you a quick idea here. The dry, wet, for example. Okay, now listen to the kick. Now I'll start adjusting this, bring it back to dry. That's getting heavier and heavier. So it's going back to the original form. So you want to bring it more towards the wet because you're adding, that's just applying these things basically. So the same thing with the output, the input, and all that. Just play with the knobs. You'll get a real good feel for it. And the problem with compression is that, you don't want to use it too much, and I've heard a lot of beats where, not just for the 808, but just in general, the compressors use a lot. And, I don't use compression that much, only when it's absolutely necessary. And I think that's what most people need to do. Just use it when you basically need it. Like in a situation like this, it's badly needed. So definitely use some kind of compression on the 808. Okay, because you can hear it. It's got it's got that, the 808 sound still, but it's just not as thick and heavy. It definitely doesn't resonate as much. You see, you can hear how it doesn't trail off that much like the original. So it's under control. So you could use this along with the snare or whatever else you're using, and it's going to just sound better. So, this is basically when you're mixing, you want to do this, add a bit of compression and all that. So now what I did too was, just to give an example of why you should use a compressor and not just lower the volume or add EQ, is here we are on this track, same kick, but what I'm going to do here is just show you with an EQ, for example, okay? So with this one, let's just play the kick. This is the original. Okay, you can see I'm up in the red here, and you can see it's all the way up here. Now, the high and the high mid, it's not really, there's nothing there really too much. But let's say you lower the low end here. Now you brought it down to about here, but still, it's just the 808 still sounds the same. Basically, it just sounds like it's kind of distant. That's all it is. So you haven't really affected anything, because it's just kind of like you don't really want that sound anyway, because then the 808 just loses all its effect, really. So and the same thing with the low mid here. Bring this down. This one, you really notice it. You could still hear it like kicking in the nuts, but it's just not as heavy, basically. But it sounds like it's distant. That's the impression I get from this. Sounds like it's more distant. So, and that's why I recommend the compressor over just EQing it, or whatever. And I just noticed this. That's hilarious. This wasn't intentional. No, I mean, look, this is yeah, okay. Yeah, anyway, I can't continue now. Anyway, so yeah, you get the idea though. But okay, let's close this here. You get the idea, but by just EQing it though, you're not really doing anything to it except just altering, like the sound of it, basically, like where it is in the mix, pretty much, So whereas the compressor, it's actually really doing something. So again, with the compressor, it's got a nice handle on it. Then you can bring the snare in, let's say. Okay, so let's swap it out. Now see, this kick here, it does sound better to me than the compressed one, because this is the original one, right? It's got that real big thump to it, and it resonates. But like I said, even though you want to use it, and I think that's why people aren't really doing the compression or whatever, is because they like that sound. That's fine. But unfortunately, you can't really use that. You got to do some kind of compression on it. So anyway, so when you're using the 808 or anything really that's very heavy like that, like a bass line, you got to remember to keep it under control. And when you're mixing, make sure you do something like this, just something subtle, just to keep it under control. That's all it is. So that's it. All right, go make some beats.